All right, so in today's video, I want to show you guys how to make your own quick deploy Ridgeline. I'm going to talk about why I think it's useful. All right, so what I carry in my kit is quick deploy Ridgeline. Now I have a couple of different tarp setups and all of them have their own Ridgeline. That way when I grab a tarp system, I'm not worrying about where's my Ridgeline. It's already there with the kit. And the reason I like using the quick deploy is because it's super simple to set up. You don't have to worry about tying knots so much. And that can definitely help you in a situation to where you have to quickly set up a tarp and you don't want to be fiddling around tying knots and stuff. Maybe your hands are wet or cold. You could just set up the Ridgeline real quick, cinch it down, throw that tarp over it, and be ready to go. Now, when I first started using the Ridgeline, I was actually tying Ridgelines. I wasn't using the quick deploy method. I was actually going through and tying the knots. I learned how to tie the knots. I still remember how to tie the knots. The only thing is, like, if you're not real good at tying knots, the quick deploy Ridgeline would be great for you. However, I think it's still worth learning the knots and just building that memory up. That way you always remember how to tie them. Just because I used the quick deploy system doesn't mean that I forgot those methods. I still use them. So tying Ridgelines can also be beneficial, not just for tarps. You can use it to help stabilize a tent maybe, or you can use it to hang your clothes over to dry. If you got your clothes wet or if they're sweaty, you can put the clothes up. And also too, if you want to hang like a lantern or maybe some cooking equipment or just equipment in general, having a Ridgeline there is a way for you to hang stuff, tie things off. So you don't always have to use it for a tarp. All right, so I got my bag here and this has my Ridgelines in it. All right, so I have a Ridgeline set up here. This is a quick deploy. This is by itself. I've got another one, quick deploy. I've got a third one, quick deploy. And then the rest of the stuff here is what I'm going to show you guys how to make your own. So for your own Ridgeline, there's all different types of cordage out there that you guys can use. Paracord is great because you have the inner strands that you can use if you had to repurpose it. I prefer to use the bank line, and reason for that is with paracord it stretches a lot more. And with the bank line, there's not really much stretch in this. And this is number 36, I believe. And this is the braided bank line. I prefer this. For the length, I carry 35 feet of this. That's what you guys see here. And if I were to carry 35 foot of paracord, the bundle would be a lot bigger and bulkier. So I prefer this because I can get away with more cordage and it doesn't take up much more space. You guys saw this green one here. So this is actually made out of paracord. This is from a company called Paracord Planet. And what it is, it's 1.8 millimeter like paracord. This stuff is pretty strong. I think the breaking strength on this is like 120 pounds. I've had this thing super tight before. Haven't had any issues with it breaking. But once again, you know, another lightweight option. And the bundle's small. This is also 35 foot as well. I carry 35 foot of Ridgeline because I feel like that's a good distance. If the trees were pretty far spaced apart and you still had to put up that Ridgeline, you can set your tarp up anywhere in between. I would even recommend that if you go with the bank line here, probably pushing it out to 40 feet just to make sure you're always good in any circumstances. I've been in areas where I really like used up every bit of this to make a Ridgeline, and you know, was lucky that I had the length there to do that. So if you guys do that, definitely do at least 35 foot of paracord or bank line. All right, so for our demonstration today, I'm going to show you guys all the items that I have here. So I have paracord, and there's no way that this is 35 foot. This is only like, I think it's about 12 foot right here. So we're only going to use this for demonstration purposes on building the Ridgeline itself. And then you guys can swap that for, you know, something else. And then I've got some 1.8 millimeter cordage here, and this is about 20 inches. I have 3 of these. And then I've got 2 of these small keychain clips, and these can support up to 25 pounds. And then the last thing that we got here is a piece of wood. This is a stick. This is really hard wood. It's already dried. It's good healthy wood. It's not rotten or anything. And I pre-drilled 2 holes in there, and we're going to cut 2 pieces off of here, and that's going to make for our quick deploy tabs. All right, so I got my 2 toggles cut, and all I did off camera was I just rounded them off. I cleaned them up a little bit, made them look nice. And also too, that'll help keeping the wood from like fraying and splintering later on. But you can go into more detail and really get these nice like I did on my other ones, but this is good for now. All right, so we got our 2 little toggles cut, and next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our Ridgeline itself. And it's important to always keep your Ridgeline wrapped up like this. That way when you have to deploy it, it's quick. You just pull the one side and it just keeps unraveling. And that helps because you can tie to a tree and then just have this whole bundle and just walk away from the tree. And you don't have to worry about tangles or anything. What I like to do on this side here is you can tie a knot. You can either do an overhand knot and leave a small gap between it, or you can do a bowline knot. It's up to you. I've used both before. I don't really see much of a difference between the two when it comes to tying a Ridgeline. I haven't had any issues with either or, so I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. And if you guys are not experts and you guys know better, then you know, use whatever knot you feel is appropriate. So we're just gonna tie an overhand knot. And I like to leave about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches of excess right here. And then on the other end of the line, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna feed one of these toggles through. Go all the way back to the end. And this side right here is actually gonna be what you would tie off first to a tree. And then the tensioning side is going to be on the opposite end of this rope. Now you take your toggle, your other one, and you put it through the other side here. Doesn't matter where it goes on there. And then what I like to do is I like to tie like a double overhand knot on this side. And that is to keep this toggle from coming off this Ridgeline. So double overhand, like that. And reason for a double overhand is because the double overhand knot is much wider than the hole is on your toggle. So that's not gonna slip out of there. So far we got a toggle on one end and a toggle on the other end. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is, remember I said we got 3 of these here, pieces of cordage. We're gonna take those and we're gonna fold them in half. And then we're gonna do the same thing, just tie overhand knot at the end. You could do like a uni to uni knot if you wanted, which would look something like this here. You take both your tag ends, you crisscross them like that, pinch it in the middle, make a loop with one end, run the tag end through that loop, cinch it tight. You could do that like 2 or 3 times if you wanted. Same thing on this end. Do a loop, run that tag end through that loop, pull it tight, and then you can pull these together like that. That works too. Whichever knot you're comfortable with tying, but the more you know, the better. So we'll do an overhand knot on this one. So we got 2 overhand knots, and then we got 1 like uni to uni knot. All right, so we have these 3 loops tied. We got 1 here, 1 here, and then we got another one. And what we're gonna use these for is called a Prusik knot. And how that works is it's a friction knot. And we're gonna tie that over our Ridgeline cordage. So we're gonna take this loop and we're gonna wrap it around 3 times. And when tying a Prusik knot to another line, you wanna use either the same diameter cordage or thinner. That way it really bites into that main line when you put tension on it. And then all we're gonna do is we're just gonna dress it up like we should do all of our knots. Always make them look nice, so then you know you did it right. So we're just gonna dress it up, keep working it until So there we go right there. That's how it looks on one end, and then on the other side, this is how it should look. And then you should have this loop coming down here. All right, so we got all three of them on the Ridgeline. You see how they look? Kind of like, if you think of it like fingers holding onto a rope, that's kind of how they should look. Nice and neat. And then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, so we have our Ridgeline completed here, and all we're gonna do now is we're just gonna find 2 trees that are close enough together that I can use this short little mini Ridgeline and show you guys how to set it up. All right, so it looks like we found 2 trees that are like perfect length. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the end that has that loop knot in it, and we're gonna use that to tie off to the main tree first. So we'll tie off to this one. So the reason that we put this little loop in here and that toggle, so that way we could do this, we can move this toggle out of the way, wrap the rope around the tree here, take that open end, take the toggle, feed it through like this, and then we can cinch this down tight. And now that's not gonna come off. So we don't have to go looking for any twigs on the ground or anything. The toggle is already permanently attached to the Ridgeline. So we're gonna take the other end of the Ridgeline, put it around this tree here. We're gonna hold on to this toggle here in one hand, and then this Prusik knot, we're gonna wrap it around. That way it's towards the middle of the Ridgeline there. Keep sliding that toggle down a little bit. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this toggle here and we're gonna feed it through that Prusik knot. Just like this here, while keeping the tag end facing the tree. And you see we put tension on that, and now it's holding up on its own. So let's show you guys from a different angle here. Tag end with the from the Ridgeline. We're gonna fold this tag end of the rope back. So now we're pinching this toggle here, and then we're gonna take the Prusik knot and we're gonna loop that toggle through that Prusik knot. Slide that Prusik knot forward, and then pull the tag end of the Ridgeline back. And what that's doing is that's putting tension on the actual Ridgeline itself. And that's going to hold. If you want, you could also do put another loop through here, just to be sure. As for the other 2 Prusik knots that we have here on the Ridgeline, those right there would be what you would connect your tarp to. And if you guys remember earlier, I had these keychain clips here, and I've used 2 of them. And the reason we did that is so that way you can space these Prusiks out, and then you can just clip this into your tarp, into the grommet, or you can loop it through the grommet and then clip it back onto itself, or if you want, you can just use regular toggles from off the ground. But either way, this is a quick deploy, and that's why I have the little keychain loops on there, so that way you can just quickly snap it in. And then these are also self-tensioning, so you should just clip it into your tarp, adjust it back, and then that's going to really pull your tarp really tight. And you guys see, like, this is not slipping from there when you pull on it, which is what's cool about this knot. And then the same thing on the other side. Now what you could do is you could also add 1 more Prusik knot in the middle here, and you can use that to like hang stuff like a lantern or anything like that. But that's pretty much your basics right there, just the 2 Prusiks to hold the tarp up from either end, and that's it. All All right guys, so that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope that you guys found that the information was helpful, and if you can, leave me some feedback down in the comments. Let me know what setup you like, what setup you don't like, you know, and if you have a totally different setup that you use, share it down below. I'd like to hear about it. If you can, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up for me as always. Subscribe if you're new, share the video with somebody if you can, and until next time guys, hope to see you on the trail with me. Peace.